Hugo's our fashionista, and he's nodding his head furiously. I think blue also complements John O'Ross. Most colours complement John O'Ross, the captain, leading Sale out. I think one or two people around here writing them off today. That would be a mistake against the Steve Diamond drilled, gritty Sale outfit. They're going to have to win some big games. La Rochelle away, Glasgow at home, and here, of course. But until it's mathematically impossible, let's not write Sale out of the picture. But Exeter, after all their painful lessons in recent years in Europe, just beginning to find a bit of fluency in this continental language. And it was interesting to hear Rob Baxter with Sarah saying, these are the games now that we have to win, that we have to talk up. We've got to embrace the pressure. We expect to reach the quarterfinals, and that's what they expect to do over the next couple of weeks. Steve Diamond wasn't overly happy with the work of a French referee, Mathieu Reynal, last week, so I'm sure he's thrilled to see Pierre Brousset in charge today. His first season in the Champions Cup, just his second game. Stiff breeze buffeting in off the X over the roof on the stand to the right, and it's a breeze that Sale have chosen to play with in this first half. So let's see how they can profit. Let's see how the men in mauve can deal running and kicking against it. And you can see there the kickoff just being held up a little bit as Luke James got his hands on the ball for the first time. Try off a charge down last week at the AJ Bell, so both scrum halves, Will Cliff, the first of them, will be particularly careful with that box kick execution and the length of the rucks, and the first swerving, semi-storming run from Sam Simmons.
Move back.
You can see Harry Williams going in to provide that gap, and now Sam Simmons. It's a lengthy train, that, isn't it? Nick White almost back on his try line by the time he cleared that away. And again, that wind, and brilliantly taken. Just on halfway, Denny Solomona, a winger today. Starting today after he replaced Marlon Yard at half-time a week ago. Yard amongst the replacements. Denny Solomona once more, emergency scrum half to McGinty. And then clobbered up by Tom Curry. McGinty had to stretch, and as he got back up, Dave Dennis was closing down in on him, and the ball ricochets out of play.
Yeah, good couple of phases there for Exeter in terms of their line speed. Good chop tackle to start with. Because that slow ruck and poor pass to McGuigan, it allows Dennis to target that foot and put pressure on the kick.
Open gap, open gap. Johnny, John boy. John. Where you go?
Curtis Langdon, first Champions Cup start today, and it's not going to be easy kicking or throwing today, Sam. It's not the stiffest of Devonshire breezes. We've had stiffer, but it's significant.
Yeah, it's a difficult one to go to the tail there. It's very windy up here. You can see as you look at the screen, the wind's going from right to left, and to throw to the tail of a line out, you know, when your very first throw is asking quite a lot of the hooker. So I'm sure teams will try and put pods up in the middle and the back of the line out, trying to force sides to go to the front in weather like this, and it's much easier to defend off the front of a line out. I presume that's what the sides will do in this weather, force the teams to the front, much easier to defend from.
This is a Chiefs scrum, and now it's a Chiefs free kick. Just a little bit too quick. Ross Harrison, Curtis Langdon, Jake Cooper-Woolley, once of Wasps, now a Shark. And their immediate line of vision, from a Chiefs perspective, Alec Hepburn, Luke Cowan-Dickey and Harry Williams.
Bang! Set!
Entirely stable scrum. Sale got the initial shove on. But it's Sale who conceded the penalty. His left boot, Henry Slade.
It's really interesting talking to Jack Yendall about these decisions. I mean, this was a real attritional battle last week. Lots of penalties for both sides. A yellow card for Exeter Chiefs. They were able to get on top in that first instance. But the penalty in their first thought, once again, from a Chiefs perspective, is to go to that corner.
Luke Cowan-Dickey picks out Simmons. And then White draws in Sam Hill. Busy, no-nonsense midfielder, and once more it's Cowan-Dickey. Wonderful position this. Exeter shuffling to the left, but that wasn't read properly. And Sale with some relief. Ian McGinty just happy to clobber it away. And what about the work on the floor? Man without a number, by the way, is Byron McGuigan.
You are not on the ball first after ruck is formed. Clean out was good on the 5 and after ruck formed.
Instructions directed largely towards Tom Curry.
Yeah, Tom Curry putting his hands in after the referee deems the ruck is formed, so he can't do that. You must have thought he was legal and beat that ruck and beat the arriving Exeter player, but referee didn't see it that way. He saw him as entering the ruck, second or third penalty against.
Hill, Hogg, upended by McGuigan. White, and Simmons. There goes Knoll, coming into the middle lane of the carriageway. Sam Simmons is the fly half. Or rather, Joe Simmons is the fly half. This is Hepburn. Dave Ewers. Chiefs just happy to warm their hands at the moment. Apologies for the language. Hogg coming in on the angle. Simmons and Hill. And now Slade, and that's nicely done. And Witten releases Jack Knoll with a little bit of space ahead of him, but Curtis Langdon and co were closing that down. Johnny Hill. First big, meaty run for him over the 22. Simmons didn't have a great deal of time to find Hill, but his fast feet almost takes him up to the 22. Simmons. Tail, not the accuracy that it was needed. Overrun from Witten. This is Harry Williams.
No, stay back 9.
This is Knoll. Chiefs side who statistically don't offload that much. Fewest in Europe this season, but they do hold on to the ball an awful lot, and we're seeing it here. Comfortable in possession. Hogg, the latest to give it a go. Just. But in the end, that little fumble led to the loss of possession.
It's a great turnover from Ben Curry, I think it is. To go that many phases, not give away a penalty, I remember thinking, you know, if Exeter get a positive result from it, it's great attack and patient attack. If Sale were going to get the penalty from it, it's great defence and great patience in defence, and ball goes to ground there. Curry snatches in on the ball, very good timing, really quick. Need to get the ball carriers really close to support with these two boys working together. Whether they do it by accident or not, you tend to find the field they're very close to each other, and they do work in pairs really well.
Fritzley and Bundiaki alongside him at the top of the turnover list. Ross Harrison trotting across just to confirm the call. 22-year-old Curtis Langdon. week on from his Champions Cup debut. Here's his first start. That one much simpler to Matt Postlethwaite at the front of the line now. Left-footed Cliff just hoists it up on the breeze. Witten had plenty of time. He was hit by Tom Curry. Cowan Dickey. Chiefs' third try in that devastating opening 25 minutes a week ago really decided the match. Chiefs didn't do any more scoring after that, but they'd done just enough as it happened in the end. White. Ben Curry was having a little explore, but White got the kick away. Taken by Cliff. Witten was there as well to help drag him back over halfway alongside Jacques Vermeulen.
That's a really good kick, Jace. It's so difficult to be able to put the ball on the money in these conditions. So you're really relying upon your wingers to be able to maximise those opportunities, put pressure and slow the ruck speed down.
It's a great kick from White as well. It was quite a low trajectory given that he's against the wind. I'm sure there'll be messages from the Sale coaches coming on to really try and charge down those kicks because the trajectory is a bit lower because he's against the wind. There's charge down opportunities there, I think, at box kick time.
Ewers took it on.
Okay, connected.
Joe Simmons. Curry was up quickly, as he will be all match. Joe Simmons will have precious little time to decide where that ball's going. Hepburn on a little chug. Tapped on by Slade to Ewers. Then Hill looking to see what he can do. Sam Simmons. And the penalty once more. They do concede at the breakdown after another heavy defensive set. It's former Chief James Phillips who gets up with a rueful smile on his face.
Given away a couple of silly penalties because you look at Sale defensively, they've looked really strong. I think their choice of tackle's been really good as well as their line speed. So when there's no real threat in terms of being broken and being busted by Exeter shape, then you don't want to give these silly penalties, especially when Exeter playing into the wind.
Well, it strikes me that Sam Hill is one of those unheralded Chiefs players who, starting more often than not again this season, he gets on with his job and almost does that Brad Barrett thing of keeping it straight and keeping it honest.
Yeah, when you've got so many ball players like your Knowles and your Hoggs and your Slades, you do need someone just to be direct and get you gain on. That's exactly what Sam Hill brings to this side.
Stretching highest was Johnny Hill. Here goes Sam Simmons. Slade away quickly. Joe Simmons once more under pressure to find Hogg, who makes the best of not the best of situations. Simmons once more tackled by Sam James. A couple of brothers, sets of brothers on the pitch today. 3 sets of brothers. Slade. Again, Hogg.
Just watching Exeter shape, it's really good. The amount of numbers in motion. You've got Nick White as a running threat, but the inaccuracy at times, just in terms of whether it's clearing a breakdown or a pass just in behind, and I think that's really disrupting Exeter's fluency. Once again, Nick White is having to go digging for the ball. They've got a really slow ruck. In fact, I think Sale have managed to turn this one over.
What is yours?
Oh, they have. James Phillips was amongst those on the floor, and inevitably Ben Curry as well. McGinty. Oh, that's cute. And James runs off after this, and very nearly fell for him.
Okay. Yeah. First knock on blue, second purple, scrum. First blue. First.
It'll be a Chief scrum.
It's a really interesting one. It's a lovely chip, but I'm thinking Sam James, put your hammer down. You can catch this on the floor. I think if he was more committed to that, he'd have been able to link up with Cameron Redpath. Instead, he let the ball bounce. And we know exactly with a rugby ball can bounce absolutely any direction.
It was, again, early push by you. No, by the team, your team.
Sale currently third in Pool 2. They're on 6 points, 8 behind Exeter, 3 shy of Glasgow at the moment. This is how Ben Curry hurt himself. Talking before the match, Sam, about the ways you open sides warm up for competition these days, and the way that warm up has developed. It was fascinating to see what Tom and Ben Curry were up to, using this big, thick, strong, elastic yarn before the match.
Yeah, there's a lot of breakdown drills now coaches are bringing in where you use the big, thick, elastic bands. And players will put it around their waist and try and compete on the ball, and it just makes you unstable when you're trying to go in to compete, or it slows you down on your entrance to compete for the ball. But so much of it is about mobility and your core strength when you're down in that deep, low jackal position. Yeah, that's what the lads were doing before kick-off. Kind of evolve, you know, the game's always evolving, and particularly drills at the breakdown, how you get an edge. That was an interesting drill that the two brothers were doing pre-match today.
You really got a sense of the upper leg strength and the mobility, the platform that he was getting from there.
Mobility is key. That's the biggest bit of advice I would give for anyone who wants to jackal. You've got timing, you've got technique, but you've got to get in the position in the first place. So mobility is the most important thing for a jackal.
Sale again with the initial shove. Sale this time with the penalty. It's a good competition at the scrum at the moment.
Step around. No, you step around.
Fingers being pointed at Alec Hepburn.
De mon côté, Pierre, j'ai cranking du droitier bleu.
Okay.
Oh, this is interesting. Been the easiest of kicks, but with the wind, they have decided to go for the line out.
I thought pre-match that the pressure's actually off Sale. You know, everybody's expecting Exeter to come 4 from 4, really seeing if they can deliver in Europe. Sale have come down with not too many people giving them a chance being away from home, and they got no pressure. They can just throw the kitchen sink at Exeter and see what happens.
So Langdon, where's this going? Maybe Postlethwaite, the 4. Instead it's to the front and to Ross, the captain. First time, ball in hand. Sale have set up camp in Exeter's 22 so far. Daddy Solomon is looking interested.
Use it.
Cliff. Ross with Langdon latching on. And this is Cooper Woolley wearing a Wasps shirt in Europe last season. Phillips. Not long ago that he was wearing an Exeter shirt. Here's Langdon. Jono Ross is back on his feet, having received some treatment to what looked like a shoulder injury.
That's about 5 tackles in a row, which have all been low and chopped, and they lost some of those collisions last week against your likes of your Van Rensburgs. And it's a deliberate ploy just to try and put these guys.
McGinty very nearly stepped through and very nearly got the ball away. There's an advantage on the way. This is a really promising, sharp position. Postlethwaite. Again, no way through. Ben Curry was tackled without the ball. Cooper Woolley lays it back. Sale will need that insurance policy.
So we've seen quite a lot of these.
Without ball, 7.
Seen quite a lot of these penalties, tackling without the ball. How difficult is it? I mean, that's a very decent low chop tackle from Harry Williams. How difficult is it as a forward to come up in the line of a running threat of as a 9, multiple guys coming to the line, checking them, and if that person's not actually getting the ball, having the discipline or to be able to react and get off?
100% is so hard. I think if you're running off 9, I would like to try and coach. If you've got 2 or 3 players as genuine options running flat to the line, it's so difficult to know which one to take. And if the ball carrier, the guy who receives the ball, can just throw in like a dummy pump, you know, then it means that he's creating that one-on-one for himself, and teams can't double up on him knowing he's going to be the only ball carrier. It's very hard to make that split decision in half a second over who's going to get that ball. So sometimes you have to commit. So I do have a bit of sympathy sometimes when players get pinged for tackling off the ball.
You'll have noticed that it was Jacques Vermeulen with the off-the-ball tackle on Jono Ross, who was subsequently injured. At the end of it all, AJ McGinty's penalty, and Sale, with the wind, lead 3-0, approaching the midway point of the first half. It's Vermeulen, who arrived from the other Sharks this season, the ones who swim around off Durban rather than in the Manchester Ship Canal. And he was involved in that little hit on Ross. Langdon. We're hearing that Marlon Yard is putting his business suit on. Cliff, again with the breeze. Off that left boot. We're hearing that Cameron Redpath, the fullback, is limping and he is coming off. Well, that's a shame for son of Brian, playing in the Champions Cup for the first time this season. Made his first Premiership start as well not so long ago, but he hasn't lasted long here in Devon. Redpath off, Marlon Yard on. Yard's gone to the wing, McGuigan moves to fullback.
It's a tough one for the fullbacks. Stuart Hogg for 16 minutes last week.
Oh, nearly working. White tiptoeing through and gathering the ball, and now what about Hogg? Running back into the tackle of Luke James. White looking to accelerate it, and a little dexterous link provided by Harry Williams. Simmons, Dennis.
Hors-jeu des Bleus, le numéro 5 hors-jeu pas remis en jeu.
Advantage offside, 5.
5 blue is James Phillips. Tackle just a little bit high maybe from AJ McGinty, but on we go. Vermeulen just making sure that everyone's lined up before he gets the ball, and he pops it up for Ewers.
You are off feet, we come back to advantage offside.
Sur les 22, là où tu es.
5 offside.
Didn't look too far offside to me. I'm not sure if I'm looking at the same player. I think that's it's a little bit harsh on James Phillips. Wouldn't mind watching that again, seeing exactly where the back foot was, but if he was offside, it was well picked up from the touchy. See, the back foot of the ruck there is on the 22, and I think James Phillips was on the 22. I think he was onside there. That's quite a harsh penalty against Sale.
It's picked up by the touch judge on the far side, Laurent Cardona, who's now policing this line out to be thrown in by Luke Cowan-Dickey.
Time off. Stay on first man. Stay on first man, please.
You see the way Sale have stacked up here. They've got no real jumpers at the back of the line out.
Keep the gap, guys.
Kind of forcing
Time on.
Exeter to throw to the back by loading up their jumpers at the front and at the middle. Exeter going to be a risky ball to go to the tail of the line out in this weather.
And they picked out Simmons at the front. The rolling ball didn't last long because it was hauled down illegally. So with the penalty, this is Johnny Hill.
Side, move back.
White, Ewers. Oof. He's got shoulders built for moments like that. Bullocking his way into defenders, and likewise Dave Dennis. And against the wind in this first half, Chiefs pressing on the first try of the match. Just another hefty surge, and they will be there. Not quite from Ewers. Has to lay it back. Hill again looking for some space. There wasn't any. Luke James amongst those blocking his path. Ross Harrison as well over the top of that. Jacques Vermeulen just moves a little bit wider out to see what he might do. Instead it's Cowan-Dickey. White decided to provide some space for Dennis to fire over the top. Now what about Simmons? Determined, scoring. Sam Simmons, the number 8, and Rob Baxter's Chiefs with the opening try.
Sam Simmons has got this incredible ability, is after being hit, to be able to accelerate through the contact. There's not many players that have it. Granted, he's got the latch of Johnny Hill in behind him, but it's winning that collision, having that core strength. You've already spoken about that, Sam, and been able to go again. So it's accelerating, being hit, and then going again. That's what's created that try.
I'm always really impressed with Sam Simmons, so explosive. And I tell you what Exeter are really good at, the build-up to that play, which a lot of teams don't do. And it sounds so simple, but teams don't do it. They run onto the ball at pace off 9, their forwards. You see them coming around the corner, taking a wide arc, coming from deep, and when they get that ball, they're accelerating. So many times you see teams carrying off 9, the forwards get the ball static, then they accelerate into contact. Exeter come around that corner off 9 with real momentum.
7 points, courtesy of the Simmons family. Try from Sam, conversion from Joe. Exeter 7, Sale 3. Let's have a chat with Steve Diamond. Steve, we were talking about how you defend situations like this and how difficult it is to stop Sam Simmons that close in. How do you do it?
Well, if I knew, Nick, I don't think they'd have scored there.
No.
It's very difficult. I think the only one thing I see is that Exeter are very good at coming off the feet, going past the ball, and it's very difficult to get to it or stop it.
The other thing we've been talking about is how comfortable Chiefs are in possession. They don't give you many offloads to fire at, so the work of the Currys that much more important, it would seem, on the floor today.
Yeah, and obviously there's quite a strong breeze out there, and we knew they'd run most things in this half, but they're a very good side at keeping it for double-figure phases.
The decision to play with the wind in the first half?
Well, the decision was clear, really. Try and get some grass, some field position, and have a go. We've probably not kicked as well as we could have done, but to be fair, we've not had many opportunities.
All right, brilliant. Thanks,
Thanks,
Steve.
mate.
McGuigan positions himself. He got to the ball, but then the ball slipped through his grasp, and it was swept up by Sam James. Cliff. Ross, who is none the worse for wear after the Vermeulen hit. McGinty and Yard, who was on a few minutes ago for Cameron Redpath.
I think these are the moments which Steve Diamond's actually talking about, playing on your halfway line. You've got a strong breeze behind you, and it's just trying to manage that game, get that balance of that desire of wanting to play, but Exeter defending it really well. At some point, someone has to step up and get rid of the ball.
James away quickly to Solomona. Cowan-Dickey over that ball, and he looks like he might have, for half a second, Sammy looked like he'd come up with the ball, but in the end he conceded the penalty.
Yeah, Cowan-Dickey's very good over the ball, I've noticed, and really good at competing on the floor, but the referee didn't see a clear release from Cowan-Dickey on the ball carrier, so penalty against. I think Hugo's bang on. When you have the wind behind you, the temptations to actually play were really, as Steve Diamond alluded to, just kick corners, just keep putting Exeter back their own half, ask them to exit, 'cause it's a difficult place to exit against the wind. It often feels counterintuitive trying to kick the ball away when you've got the wind, but that's often the most effective thing to do and play the percentage game and get territory.
Time off. Time is off. Time is off. Which number, Bill?
What are you pointing at? Oh, it looks like
Time is off.
it's Ben Curry leaving us. Ben Curry is heading off for a head injury assessment, and looks like Cameron Neild has come on in his place.
Time back on. No,
So we'll hope this is a
first man.
temporary change.
Line is middle.
There's Cam Neild. Hooker, who can also play very effectively in the back row.
Blue, close the gap. Blue.
More of a back rower these
Blue.
days.
Close. Yeah.
Hooker today is Curtis Langdon. Phillips at the front, Postlethwaite in the middle, calling it. Oh, they were looking for Ross at the tail.
No advantage, no straight. Play out of scrum.
Again, another decision to go long on a breezy day.
Really good line-out defence from Exeter, actually. They started, they loaded their jumpers in the middle and at the back, then they had a late shift towards the front, which kind of forces Sale to go towards that middle back area. So really good line-out defence from Exeter. You see them shifting late, making it look like the open at the front of the line-out is an option for Sale, then shooting to the front, puts the line-out caller in two minds, and to win that ball in the middle against competition is going to be very tough in this weather.
Steve Diamond deep in conversation with their head of analysis, Hugh Jenner, just down below us in the main stand, seeing where that went, where it went wrong.
You get all that feedback at half-time. You know, the analysts will show the line-up leaders where Exeter are defending, you know, where they're shifting to and where line-up calls may be available in the second half.
Well, at the end of all that, from what was an attacking Sale line-out, they have conceded a penalty to the Chiefs, who'll get the simplest of exits used.
And this is what Steve Diamond, once again, just to quote him, they've not had many opportunities. Two line-outs lost. They've probably not kicked enough and made the most of this wind. And, you know, this match is already 27 minutes in. They certainly would have wanted to have got a few more points. I mean, they haven't haven't really been able to put too much pressure in the areas that really matter.
Reminder, from a Chiefs perspective, their best ever start to an elite level European season. Wins here against Glasgow and critically away to La Rochelle, and then Sale last weekend, 3 from 3. Make it 4 from 4 today. They will be really flying. Not mathematically sure of a place in the last 8, but as good as the captain today, Dave Dennis, rises highest. And the try scorer Simmons comes away with it, takes on Langdon. Here's from Muirland. Don Armand amongst Exeter's replacements today.
Use it 9.
And again, that extended little mini commuter train of a ruck now. Wasn't quite the express one that we saw earlier. Yard tries to position himself, does it well. Runs into Johnny Hill, but he got the ball, which was the main target. Cooper Woolley. McGinty.
Sorry. Push on. 5 offside in front to kicker on the right.
Penalty against James Phillips.
C'est un saignement important là d'un joueur bleu.
I think it's time to talk about your players. There is too many infringements for both teams. Okay? Yeah. Penalty in front of kicker, man on the rack.
It's a long time since Sale made the knockout stages of this competition. 14 years ago, in the old days of the Heineken Cup, when the likes of Charlie Hodgson and co were doing their stuff. Mark Cueto, who's part of the backroom team these days, heading their commercial operation. Actually, that was the season, Hughes, that they went on to win the Premiership, talking to one or two Sale folk before the match about which was the better team. Clearly, that team won the Premiership, so at the moment, that's the best. But the potential that this one now has, with the extra investment that they've been able to make.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. That's such a settled team. You know, you chuck into that the likes of your Jason Robinsons. I remember Steve Hanley, Mark Cueto as a back three. There wasn't any better in the Premiership. But when I look at what Steve Diamond is building here, throw in Luke Diaga, who'll be back in March. They have got an absolute quality side. Tom Curry, one of the best in the world. Faf de Klerk, one of the best in the world. A very decent squad.
This is Wilgriff John, first start of his season last weekend, and an early arrival a week on. Jake Cooper Woolley is being stitched up at the moment. He's going off for a blood injury. That's where he hurt himself, colliding with Dave Ewers. Sure, we will see more of Jake Cooper Woolley as soon as he's stitched back up.
Yeah, just looking at the collision, he's got a cut to the head because of Dave Ewers.
Seen those been punished, haven't we?
Yeah, lucky just to get away with just a penalty on that occasion, I think.
Another Sale attacking line out. What about this one? Again, it's relatively ambitious, but this time it works, and John O'Ross tries to pull his men through. Langdon has it. Will Cliff keen to use it, and Simmons was in the passing lane. Couldn't gather it cleanly, so Sale will have the scrum at the very least. Here's Neil. Cliff.
Advantage over for Nocon.
Just a bent arm advantage, so not the longest. On we go. Cliff, oh, and then McGinty can't gather it cleanly. Just too many loose blue attacking threads at the moment.
I think it's fair to say this opening 30, although there's been plenty of energy, more so in defence than attack, it's just been really inaccurate. Line-outs, scrums have been going either side, lots of knock-ons. It's not quite coming to life yet, has it?
Demande aux deux là de mon côté, notamment le bleu, de bien avoir sa liaison et pas sous la poitrine du fond vis-à-vis.
I wonder if the wind has a part to play in that. 'Cause you know when you're playing off 10 and the ball's in the air from 9 to 10, then it's in the air from 10 to forward. And when there's a significant wind, if you're trying to push that ball 1 metre in front of the ball carrier, if the wind's that strong down there, which I can't tell, but it looks like it is, that's going to really affect that delivery of pass, and it just stunts your attacking momentum. So I'm not sure whether the wind's having a part to play, you know, in the quality of attack right now.
No move now, both.
Certainly tested the putty in our hotel room windows last night, that was for sure. Mine just about held up. I'm sure you'll all be mightily relieved to hear.
Marcus, you must stay left to the mark. Left to the mark. Left. Okay. Keep this position now. Keep this position now.
It's Dave Dennis. Last of his 18 Wallaby caps, 6 years ago now against Wales. One of those very, very useful left of field additions that Rob Baxter and his scouting team are so good at making.
Burn! Time off. Props.
Going to have another lecture from Pierre.
We play 5 scrum, 5 penalties or free kicks. Now we need to change. If you can change, you go to sin bin. Now, please keep space and good picture for the bind. Now we go.
When was the last time you saw a couple of props, one from either side, actually sin bin in that situation?
It's been a little while. I like the threat of it. He's absolutely right. We haven't had any complete scrums, and slowing down this game for lots of different reasons.
It was an issue a week ago, and it's an issue today. 8 minutes to half time. Sale ahead. Sam Simmons try. Rather Exeter ahead.
Use it.
Oh, again, Sale getting the shove on. Simmons and Slade flinging it away to Hogg. Cowan Dickey.
Move back. Stay back here. Back. Use it, 9.
Loose ball. Needed to be hoovered up by White. Hogg comes in. To Dennis. Scored a try in the win in La Rochelle that really set Chiefs up for where they are now. The halfway stage of the pool stages. Total control of pool 2. Toss-off rate wasn't far away as he attempted the charge down.
Play on backwards.
James, and now Yard. It's just opening up a little bit here for Sale. What can Yard do with this? Kneeled, and Ross muscles it over the 10-metre line. And then the clear-out boys need to come and do their job. That's the advantage line. That's how much ground Sale have made so far. John. Curry. Oh, he did well to get the ball away quickly to Langdon. McGinty. Ewers amongst those pushing up defensively, but Solomon has found some space on this left-hand side. Kick wasn't what he was hoping for.
Yeah, some good patience, some really nice shapes, some good accuracy at the breakdown when the ball's hot enough. It was nice to get it out to McGuigan, who links up. Good to see the backs all combined there, and Solomon, you can see exactly what he's trying to do. Tough skill off his left foot whilst trying to fend off Henry Slade.
Time on.
In the middle of all that, the blood reversal. Will Griff, John trots back. Jake Cooper-Woolley returns.
Attention Pierre, on n'est pas dedans, on n'est pas dans les 22.
We are hearing, however, that Ben Curry has failed his head injury assessment.
there.
So that's the last we will see of at least one of the Curries today.
Outside.
Cam Neild with us for the duration. John O'Ross and Simmons head to head. Hepburn.
Use it!
I think Nick White's controlling the game really well. Exeter playing a few phases in their own 22 near their line, which is quite good to eat up the clock when you're against the wind. And I think when he's box kicking, he's organising that box kick, getting away safely, and box kicking, given the conditions, really well into the wind.
And the quality of that latest kick allowing Noel to get the tip back, which Dennis and Vermeulen made the most of. However, that is a forthright hit. It was Cameron Neild who delivered it. He's now back in the defensive line. There he is, number 20. Simmons, Slade, Hill. He's tackled by Postlethwaite. Youngster getting some game time with one or two significant second row injuries at the moment. Hill, Witten. Desire again of the Chiefs not to kick it away, hold on to it.
That's often a deliberate tactic when you're playing into the wind. It'd be interesting to see if that changes second half when they have the wind. Will they choose to kick for the corners, or will they keep possession like they have in the first half, which they haven't done in the first 3 rounds of this Champions Cup. So I'm pretty sure that's because of the wind conditions. They're holding on to the ball in their half.
Hill, Noel and Yard. Joe Simmons and Ian Witten, and now Stuart Hogg. Not had too much open space to try to exploit so far.
You go away, too far.
So this is one of those penalties which, if you were defending that ruck, Sam, you would be patting yourself on the back for. I mean, it's been so well played by Solomona, but really tough for Stuart Hogg going into that ruck, isn't it?
Yeah, whether Solomona meant to do it on purpose, I'm not sure. But he sort of went in to have a sniff. To have a sniff for the ball. Exeter thought he was going to go for it. They went to clean him out. He stepped back at the last minute, so it looks like the Exeter player goes off his feet. So whether he did it on purpose or not, it's won him a penalty.
Well, Dennis Solomona, brilliant there in defence, winning his team defensive penalty, but a missed opportunity here is really nice from McGuigan and Solomona. But if he just looks up and spots Marlon Yarder's inside, he's got 2 trailing runners. Instead, he goes for the kick. Definitely the wrong option there, but in a game which will offer up few opportunities, that was certainly one missed.
Ross had to work hard to knock that back one-handed. It was a little bit scruffy in the end, but at least it was still Sale ball.
Stay back.
Again, it's good line-out defence from Exeter. They forced him to go to the front. Cowan Dickey is hair off the back of that line-out, anticipating they're going to go to the front. Makes that delivery for 9 really difficult to 10.
James, Solomona. Johnny Hill gets back to his feet rather gingerly. He took a bit of a bang in the middle of all that. But Exeter have stolen it back. Hogg. Cowan Dickey.
Move 13.
Oh, now wonderful. And Simmons on the burst. Oh, he would have been away. But for the little trip, seemingly, and then White goes through, and White is away. He's got McGuigan to beat. McGuigan gets there. Sam Simmons is back on his feet. Looks like he hurt himself as he tripped over Marlon Yard. But what a position Exeter have engineered on the cusp of half-time. This is Williams. Touchline was not his friend, and in the end, he was introduced to it.
I think 2 of those line breaks came from Solomona, not picking him out, but he's really struggling, injured in defence, and he wasn't able to cover there. We could just see inside. He was the inside option of Simmons, couldn't defend that. getting back onside now, and Nick White manages to sneak through as well. So Solomon is really struggling at the moment, currently having some treatment, but unfortunately for him, that was the cause of the 2 line breaks, which have given Exeter about 70 yards of field position.
Yeah, would have just liked Simmons just to have stepped off his right and try and link up with Stuart Hargett's. I mean, is that a tap tackle in itself? Either way, ball comes out wide. Harry Williams does pretty well initially, but then into touch.
You may well have just heard Pierre Brousset having had the conversation with Eric Briquet-Campound, the TMO, that little, what looked like a trip from Marlon Yard was actually just an accidental coming together as he ran back to try to stop Sam Simmons.
Marlon Yard will take that to tackle on his stats after the game, I think.
It is just the coming together. Just as Sam Simmons tries to get outside, there's nothing deliberate there. But once again, Simmons in the, I was going to say, in the wide open spaces. It certainly wasn't wide and open, but he forced a hole and then showed his acceleration once again.
Time nearly up at the end of this first half. Sale will feel that with the win they've not made the most of it, trailing as they do by 4. Danny Solomon is back with us. Doesn't look entirely happy. Hands on his knees on that far side. They'll try and get him back to full working order in the break. And Will Cliff very happy to usher us towards that break. At the moment, Exeter doing enough to take another sizable stride towards the quarter-finals of the Champions Cup. AJ McGinty with the early penalty for Sale. Sam Simmons' try has the Chiefs ahead. We'll hear the thoughts of their captain, Jack Yendall, at half-time. 7-3 Exeter. Overriding impression from that first half was that Sale didn't make the most of the wind power. They were not energy efficient. How are they going to work their way back into this contest, playing into it now? How might Chiefs try to use it a little bit better?
Use it.
Once again, that extended ruck to provide the room for Nick White to fire it up on the breeze for the first time, coming from right to left in this second half. Back to Australia at the end of the season, off to Super Rugby as Byron McGuigan tries something cute, but straight out on the wind. That's the reason we've come all the way back.
Ruck was outside and Bo goal in. Please open gap. On the line for you. Open gap. Open gap.
So attacking line out, and that worked out very nicely. And here goes Langdon. And what about this from Cliff? Whoa. Well, within the first 60 seconds of the second half, already much brighter from the Sharks.
That was a really good move. They've been jumping in towards the middle of the line-out, and they made it look exactly the same with John O'Ross coming round the front then. Really effective line-out move in these weather conditions.
And the Chiefs cleared it long, and Sale bring it back at them. Cooper Woolley almost up to halfway. AJ McGinty, every game for the USA at the World Cup. Will Cliff. No Faf de Klerk today. This is Sam James running with his kid brother. Luke, 5 years the junior. Cliff wants a bit more help on this slightly wider blind side.
Stay back.
This is a lot better game control, almost using the blueprint that Nick White provided for Exeter. A few phases, not going anywhere on the halfway line.
20, stay with me.
A bit of kick pressure, unfortunately. Kicked that one a little bit too long.
Witten. Luke James a little bit high.
Keep here.
I know that's accidental, but that's exactly what you can't do when you're playing into the wind. Your discipline, you've got to try and keep penalties down now. If you Sale to perhaps 4, you know, this half, maximum 5. Otherwise, you're going to give Exeter with the wind, you know, 50-metre gains on each occasion there.
Danny Solomona, by the way, who we were a little bit concerned about before half-time because of a leg injury, is still with us, but he rather hobbled out at the start of the second half. I'm not entirely sure how much longer he's likely to last, Ute.
That Strapper will be there just to give him a bit of stability. Good to see him back on the pitch, though. They'll need him.
They will, because they brought Marlon Yard on early in the first half for Cameron Redpath, so they don't have the option of replacing like for like. A couple of youngsters in Gus Waugh, the scrum half, and Tom Curtis, the fly half, on the bench. Hill tips it up into the arms of Witten. Played more in midfield so far this season, Witten, but he can more than hold his own on the wing, of course. Try scorer. Simmons was waiting for it to his brother, and now Slade and Noel. He does well to evade the clutches of McGinty, and Sale in full-on defence here. Yard part of that as Hill buffets it up. Cowan-Dickey. Oh, and Cowan-Dickey's got through. The timing of the pass will decide it, and it was intercepted by McGuigan. Try-saving intervention.
Yeah, lovely bit of defensive play by McGuigan. It was actually outstanding attack going from coast to coast and punching Sale through the middle. Just couldn't find that final pass. Sale out of jail once again.
Away now.
McGinty doing the clear-out work on the much bigger man, Dave Dennis, to secure that ball for Sale.
Use it, 9. Back.
See how that ball is holding up back into the arms, however, of Cooper Woolley. Ball in hand still for John O'Ross. Ross Harrison. McGinty. Phillips, once of this parish, played his part in Chiefs' first ever Premiership season, won back in 2010. Kneeled for Sale, a first half replacement for Ben Curry. Failed a head injury assessment. And again, that higher kick, a higher trajectory than Nick White was spitting in the first half, got totally caught up in the wind, and Slade can run it away and just pop it up for Witten. Back to Slade, nicely done. Kick through, the bounce of the ball's important. It's being chased after by Hogg, and Hogg thinks he got there first. It was a sprint with Sam James. The Englishman comes away with it. A Frenchman will decide who got there first. It might have been the Scotsman.
Outstanding interplay from Witten and Stuart Hogg. Chuck Slade into the mix too. Just the way in which they combine and manipulate.
But we need to check the grounding, or ground the ball first. And also we need to check potential full play after the kick.
Okay, we first check the grounding, and after that, the full play. Steve, we need to see the grounding.
Oh, that's good work. Good work from Sam James.
Oh.
Ok, stop là, Eric. Je voudrais que tu m'arrêtes l'image au moment c'est que le ballon touche le sol, s'il te plaît.
Ça semble simultané, les deux ramènent dessus.
Hogg's got his right hand in there, but Sam James got two, so...
Sam James is in control of the ball initially, isn't he? He's first on to
Eric,
it.
c'est le bleu qui a le ballon dans les deux mains. Donc c'est lui qui est en possession du ballon, qui fait le toucher à terre. On vérifie.
So did McGinty take out Slade significantly after the ball had been kicked?
Got to see that at full speed.
Steve, the same, at real speed.
Pour moi, il a commencé son action juste avant le coup de pied, donc c'est connecté. Donc on reste sur le grounding, renvoi aux 22 mètres. I have a decision, Henrik. No foul played, grounding by blue, in possession of the ball, 22.
Correct.
22.
That's the best bit of attacking play I think we've seen this half. Henry Slade, Witten, Hogg, all outstanding in that.
Dennis Solomona's coming off. That's been charged down, and McGinty with the tidy up.
No, stop.
And the man who has only just come on clears it away. Tom Curtis on his Champions Cup debut. That's some introduction.
I think Solomona's got to be a dead leg. If there was some sort of ligament strain, there wouldn't have been a risk taken at half-time. They would have got him off. So I think they probably give him 5 minutes to see if he could run it off, get a little bit looser in his leg. Obviously, it hasn't worked out for him.
That's been lost by Hill. So McGinty with the advantage. On the line that Dave Ewers has gone off for some blood problems. That's why Don Armand's on. Here goes Yard. Oh, he ran into Witten, and Witten, with a lot of help from Nick White, ended the adventure.
Good defence once again from Exeter Chiefs, just shepherding Marlon Yard to this near side touchline. It's lovely shape out of the back, but nothing too penetrating. Nick White just stays connected, and Ian Witten finished off the tackle.
White to Slade, and then Simmons. Well, now the burst through, and Slade herring towards the line. He's on his own at the moment. Not now. This is Williams. And right now, Exeter are beginning to select the gears impressively. Sale in full-on defence. Postlethwaite over the ball, but it's still Chiefs to conjure with. White, and then Simmons hunting what would be a second try for him. Knocked back by Cooper Woolley. Here's Hill. Johnny Hill, slightly bigger version. Ross Harrison on the edge of that defensive effort, but it looks like White's going to go the other way. Joe Simmons ready for it. Ball not quite there. Here it comes now. Picked up by White. Simmons, and here goes Hogg. Shuffling his way infield. This is Vermeulen. Witten.
Please, captain.
Cowan-Dickey. Harrison holding on for all of his worth. White popped up for Joe Simmons. This is beginning to look ominous from a Sale perspective.
Move back, move back.
Cowan-Dickey still driven on by Noel, and some help from Armand as well. Need one more significant shove, maybe from the try scorer. Sam Simmons this time held up just short. The advantage is coming. Here's Hepburn. As fluent phase-wise as the Chiefs have been all match, that bouncing ball won't help, however. But there was the advantage to play with.
Captain.
Curtis Langdon's going to have a lecture.
Offside number 5, after number 2, not rolling away, close to the line. It's yellow card.
Curtis Langdon gone for 10.
Yeah, good decision. The referee already offered up a warning in that first half.
Oh, taken quickly. Almost smuggling it over the line. Johnny Hill. Cooper Woolley at the front of that Sale defensive effort. Once more Sam Simmons looking, but this time he pops it up instead for Hepburn. Simmons there again. Dennis not far behind him to latch on with the extra muscle. Dennis still there. White. Oh, and now the other Simmons scores. It wasn't Sam. It was the smaller one, Joe. But it's a second try for the Chiefs.
Very similar to Sam Simmons' try, just power. Sale just couldn't contain Exeter's power. Spilled over to a little bit of handbags here. I think that just comes down for a bit of frustration from Sale. It's just so difficult to get the ball back from Exeter when they're in the 22 and they're carrying off 9 and the forwards are back in their physicality, which is why they went for the quick tap. Real message of intent that, 7 points was all that Exeter were going to be happy with. Turns out to be an easy run-in with plenty of numbers out wide as well, but the damage was done up front with the pack. The 6-7 carries before that, just gradually sucking in defenders, created acres of space out wide.
Check.
We want to check a potential full play during the grounding. First, number 10, potential high tackle, and after number 8, we will go to the player on the ground.
We check. Steve, we check a potential full play during the grounding. First, number 10.
It's Byron McGuigan, I think, making the tackle on Simmons. See, he's trying to target the ball. This is the angle it shows it. He's having to try and target, but he's just gone above that. It's a definite high tackle. Simmons is desperately trying to get to the ground at the same time as trying to make a collision.
White just having a word in John O'Ross's ear.
The same on real speed. The grounding on real speed, yes.
Steve is our director, by the way, if you're wondering who Steve is. Lord Mayor of Carlisle, in charge of all things technical down below us.
Ok, fais-moi un arrêt sur image maintenant quand il y a le touche à terre, s'il te plaît.
Steve, with a freeze, at the instant of the grounding, please. Ça arrive. Hein?
Ok. Les gars, ça mérite pénalité pour
Decision, Steve.
Pour moi, il vient jamais plaquer, il vient se coucher sur un joueur au sol qui est en train de faire un toucher à terre. Donc je reprendrai avec avertissement, pénalité au centre. Vous êtes d'accord? Pas plus parce qu'il n'y a pas de danger.
Tout à fait, un warning au 10 aussi.
Il y a une décision Henrik, it will be piqué for restart against number 8. Don't make a tackle, go player, go on the player on the ground. Captain.
Correct for me. Je peux mettre un warning au 10 aussi.
So the penalty is going to be against Jono Ross.
I have 2 full play. Potential high tackle by number 10, but he was just piqué because he knows danger. Okay? After, you go to player on the ground. You never try to make a tackle. It will be a penalty for restart against you. And now, we need to go and change to be able to restart with good discipline now.
I like that decision. We see it so often when tries are scored into the corner.
Piqué for Exeter.
People slide in with their knees, they just go in unnecessarily, and I can see what Jono Ross is trying to do. He's desperate to try and solve something, but it happened after the try was scored, so good decision.
With the rain that you can see has started to fall in the last few minutes. The try scorer with the try converted. Joe Simmons, 7 points of his own. Exeter now with 14. They lead 14-3. It's an awfully long way back now, and there were a couple of penalties in the middle of all that. And as a result, you don't see this very often, but the restart, rather than being in Sale's possession, will be Exeter's. What do they do here? Do they try and wallop it on the win for an extra bonus point 3, or
hammer this as far as you can? Henry Slade has got the ball in his hands, will look to get as much distance as he can out of this. I'll tell you what, to compound one error with another, and from an extra perspective, one positive action of another, they're straight back 10 metres out, back into their danger, back into Exeter's danger zone, and back to their super strength of driving more.
remember Sale having to do all this a man down. Curtis Langdon serving his yellow card. It's been an eventful few minutes since he was dismissed temporarily. Line out one by Hill, and then Simmons comes away with it. Noel trying to slip his way through. Had to be tackled by Neild, and was. Cowan Dickey, Postlethwaite providing the hit. But once again, the Mauve Army back in a very threatening position.
It's a tough decision, but that's given against Postlethwaite, just playing the ball on the ground.
Use your hands. Discipline.
Cowan Dickey. Chiefs off in search of a third try. In no time at all after they scored the second. Hepburn. Cowan Dickey, they just continue to roll around the corner, accelerating away at speed. Simmons very nearly there. There's almost an inevitability about this. Oh, until the point they held on to the ball.
Number 3, never on fit.
Frustration for Sam Simmons and co.
I was just thinking, when you're in this sort of situation, from a Sale perspective, you need somebody to step up for a big moment. When it's sort of you're in a downward spiral, all the momentum's with Exeter, you need one of your senior top players to step up for a big moment. That's a big moment from James Phillips, just to relieve some pressure, getting in over the ball for a vital Jackal turnover. But when you're in a difficult situation like that, you need someone to step up and have a big moment. And James Phillips had a very big moment for Sale there. I think this is it. It's the carry from Sam Simmons. They don't get over the ball correctly. James Phillips get on correctly, stays strong. There's a little bit of support, I think. Great Jackal turnover to get Sale out of trouble.
Time on, we go.
He has his history with this place. He used to be employed by the Chiefs, but doing excellent work for the Sharks. Don Armand's headed back to the dry. Dave Ewers with some extra tape around his head, that cut attended to.
Well, Curtis Langdon off now. It's a big old line out.
Well, Cameron Neild has done plenty of line out throwing in his time. However, that wasn't the cleanest, and then Cowan Dickey couldn't gather it.
No straight. Scrum. No, for me it's connected at the same time. Let's go! No straight. Scrum. Time off. We need a hooker, Bill.
Just shows the importance of just having somebody to get up in the air. I think it was Dave Dennis there who jumped at the front, and he's not opposite the jumper of Sale, but just by getting up and getting in the eye line of the hooker in windy conditions where it's wet as well, it just puts them off, and that's why it's always worthwhile getting someone up off the floor, really put pressure on the opposition hooker.
Aka van der Merwe, a fully qualified full-time hooker, ahead of the scrum, takes the place of Cameron Neild, who is sacrificed. He looked a little bit puzzled by the decision to take him off, but it is he who makes way. So whether Sale will add a hefty back to the scrum or just try and do what they can with 7 in it.
Let's go. Here we go. Let's go. Let's go, quick. Control.
In defence, you know, I expect Sale now, which they have done, you go with 7 players. You don't need a number 8 to control that ball because it's not your possession. So you just have to really ask a lot of the front 5. Probably not chase this ball, just keep that scrum solid and just get into a defensive opportunity and just try and defend phase play, not concede any penalties here.
Or to say, by the way, that Sale have changed their 2 props. You'll have noticed Ross Harrison and Jake Cooper-Woolley off for Valery Morozov, the Russian World Cup loose head, and Will Griff-John.
Let's go. Chase.
Crouch. Bang. Set.
Exeter with still 4 minutes of the yellow card to play with here. It's a penalty that perhaps allows Chiefs the opportunity to hammer this towards the corner flag and go for that driving maul again, Sam.
Yeah, I think Exeter could smell blood there, being 1 player up. They went deliberately for the double shove, kept the ball at number 8's feet, and went after Sale again, knowing they had a number up. Probably an extra, you know, had probably got 110 kilo advantage in that scrum. Definitely went for that deliberately to earn that penalty.
Chiefs with 2 tries so far. Sam Simmons in the first half, Joe Simmons in the second. Inevitably start to think about bonus point tries, but then we'll need another 2. Taken by the captain, Dennis. Here comes the mighty surge. And Sam Simmons did really well to resuscitate that. For half a second, he looked as if he was on his knees, but he got back up off the canvas, and the Chiefs do have a 3rd.
Great driving line out. They hit it with momentum straight away as soon as it comes to deck. What Sam Simmons did really well there. It would have been very easy to do this, and it would have been a penalty against him. But as the maul sort of separates, he does a really good job in holding on to the players in front of him, so he doesn't get detached, doesn't get done for obstruction. This might be a better angle. He holds on to Dave Dennis. If he lets go of him, Dave Dennis will be done for obstruction, but he holds on to him, manages to remain the same part of the maul, so the maul doesn't change. Did very well there not to get distracted from that maul, detached from that maul, sorry, to go over for the try.
Oh goodness, this has been a costly yellow card. 2 tries since Curtis Langdon was dismissed temporarily. Another Sam Simmons try converted by Joe Simmons. The Simmons 21, the Sharks 3. Injury that kept him out for, what, the best part of 8-9 months last season. Seems a long time ago now, and he really is making up for lost time. Second try for Sam Simmons, and a change in the Chiefs' front row. Harry Williams wanders off. And on in his stead, the bearded Marcus Street. On we go.
Pressure on the kick, Filsey. Pressure on. Jack, get open, Jack.
Once again, the lengthy ruck. Once again, that little commuter train. And that jogs down to Dawlish, away to the right-hand side, and then White clears it away. Here goes Yard. Van der Merwe amongst those helping to recycle that ball. We're hearing, by the way, that Curtis Langdon isn't coming back after the sin bin. Van der Merwe is now with us for the long term. As Gareth Steenson prepares to join us, we can have a chat with Rob Baxter. Rob, we'll get into the meat and drink of it in a minute or two. I just want to know, when you win the toss here, do you tend to play with the wind or against the wind? What's your policy?
It's a secret, depending on when I go out there and judge the fine Devon weather, because sometimes it can turn around and you can have it both halves, which I know sounds a bit strange, but it can sometimes be a bit like that. I don't know there's ever often 100% a game where the wind's behind you, but I mean, obviously, normally not. You know, I think most teams are the same. Normally, we'd probably try and weather the storm a bit in the first half and play into the wind. And then try and ride the elements in the second half. But as I said, it does vary a little bit here, because sometimes there can be a slight change, especially in the 3 o'clock kickoff. So we vary a little bit, but on the whole, we would go into the elements.
What have you liked most about your team's performance so far?
Well, probably that we're kind of just gritting it out. It's not an absolutely amazing performance by any means, but we're being tough. You know, and I think that sometimes, like I say, are the best qualities shown in the Heineken Cup. I think we were a little edgy in the first half, which I don't mind, because we talked a lot about the potential pitfalls of a double header. And I think, you know, I'd rather see us edgy and nervous than complacent. But edgy and nervous can also dampen some of the consistency and the togetherness of your play. So we've done okay. You know, like I say, I'd rather us be a little bit edgy and nervous about what Sale could bring, because ultimately that looks like it's going to see us through if we can, you know, if we can see the game out now.
All right, great stuff. Thanks for your time, Rob.
Thank you very much.
Just talking about the weather, is absolutely hammering it down now. As you can see, Marlon Yard struggles with that ball, but manages to knock it backwards. And you consider, to get those 3 tries before this rain comes down, Exeter could be in a position to secure a 5th point if they're to go on to win this game.
Here goes McGuigan. A couple of Chiefs changes while we were chatting to Rob Baxter. Gareth Steenson's on for Joe Simmons, and Ben Moon into the front row for Alec Hepburn. Significant day for Ben Moon. Oh, here goes Cliff. Can he break away? And that's ball to Sam James, and Sam James will score. And he slides on the raindrops. And a little bit of defiance from the Sharks.
Exeter didn't quite have the numbers on the blind side. They picked up on it really well. Quite a simple 2v1, but still great handling ability in these conditions. It's going to be so greasy down there now with that ball. So did really well to get the ball away with one hand. And a very good finish.
Well, in the heaviest rain of the season, what can McGinty do with the conversion? Powers it through the raindrops, and well, Sale back with an 11. Exeter 21, Sale 10.
I bet the groundsman's thinking this is fantastic for the grass, mind.
It's actually hail, look at that. Hail the size of meteors. It is absolutely ridiculous. And much to their annoyance, I suspect, Donna Hammond and Janus Kirsten have been invited to wander out into it. Listen to this.
Ref's calling it off in a minute.
Wow. Just for a few minutes, if they had to play on in this, they'd need pit helmets. It's as ridiculous as I've ever seen it. It is hailing meteors in Devon. And the players are being taken off for their own safety.
I've never seen that before, but I think that's a really wise call from the referee. Quite a big decision to make, but that was torrential. I've never seen hailstones like that.
Funnily enough, you had all four wingers straight over to the ref saying, we can't play in this, let's get inside.
Will Griff-John's toughing it out, front rower. Thinks there's nothing wrong.
It's a white Christmas. Look at that, the props are out there. They go, for goodness sake, man. Rob Baxter as well, farming stock. Good for the crops. If the crops can live in this, then so can rugby players. The worst conditions you two have ever played in?
Oh, I remember playing a game. It was in Europe. I think it was Pau. We were playing in no, it wasn't Pau. Yeah, I think we were playing in Pau, and it was so cold. I remember going in at half-time. We actually all had hand warmers each. I was sat there, literally shivering. And it's probably one of the only times in my career that I really wished I wasn't a rugby player. It was horrendous. The pitch was awful. It was wet, muddy, freezing cold, wind. It was the single worst game I played in. That was horrendous. It was January as well, so snowing season. Oh, that was awful.
Sounds lovely. You beat that, Hughes.
Yeah, sail away actually many moons ago. You had to stop the match every 15 minutes so that the ground staff could come onto the pitch and sweep the lines back into it. Every time a high ball went up, you weren't sure whether you were catching snowballs or rugby balls. I mean, that's probably an issue all my career, in fairness. But yeah, that was a ridiculous night of weather.
We're hearing down on the touchline that Pierre Brousset, the referee, doesn't want the players back out on the pitch until the hail has stopped. And we can't hear the hail anymore, but we can still see it. So still a bit of an issue. An obvious time to mention that we're off to the Auvergne, where it's always sunny in the middle of France once we're done here in Hailey, Devon, for Clermont against Bath from 3 o'clock. And then all the highlights from this fourth weekend of pool stages rounded up by Craig and Brian and Lol at tea time. Imperious Leinster, Connacht's comeback, spiky affair between Sarries and Munster, all of it wrapped up in the highlights programme. And the Gallagher Premiership back next weekend before Christmas, and we kick off Friday night at Kingsholm for Gloucester against Worcester. Saturday, Welford Road, Leicester against the Chiefs, and then Sunday, the Medeski, London Irish against Bath, when Wayne Barnes will be one of our guests in Reading. Wayne would have stayed out there. He doesn't mind a bit of hail, but here they come. And the most extraordinary stoppage that many of us will have ever seen in a game of rugby is about to draw to its conclusion. And look at the weather now here at Sandy Park. It's almost deck chair weather. It's ridiculous.
I think as a player, you would just want to crack back on with it. You know, you're in soaking wet, freezing cold gear. I think the last thing you want to do now is sit in your change room for 5-10 minutes, then have to go back out again. So, yeah, if I was a player, I'd be pretty keen to get back out there, get the blood circulating around the body again, and get straight back into the action.
Yeah, same. I'd have, yeah, desperate to get back out there, Wolves.
Your backs are soft, man.
It's around the time now that Hughes would just be starting to feel a hamstring that he was bothered about before the match, but honestly, coach, it's starting to...
Just a bit of cramp, Nick.
Be worth pointing out, just in case there is another deluge of hail herring its way up the M5 towards us, that because we've gone past the hour mark, because we've gone past 60 minutes, this result would stand. So Exeter would get the points. Gareth Steenson now captaining Exeter. Well, that was exciting. Well, none of the players needed a head injury assessment at the end of all that. They've all survived the hail and we're off and running again. Has this match been decided? Or after the impromptu break, can Sale somehow turn it around? Here's Cameron Neal. Just to remind you of the picture, Chiefs win wouldn't necessarily, it would not guarantee quarter-final Champions Cup rugby in the new year. They would still need an extra point or two, even with a bonus point, and they're one try away from that bonus point. But from Sale's perspective, defeat would pretty much do it. And Sale will have a scrum, should they need it. Cliff gets on with it. And then this is Curtis, only 18. Akker van der Merwe. A couple of tries last Sunday set up that thrilling finish. Led to what Rob Baxter described as the longest 10 minutes of his life. Can Sale somehow muster something here? Try scorer Sam James to John O'Ross, and that's really nicely done. And then the charging Postlethwaite, and he's jackknifed by Steenson. Tackled low, and then Noel looking to win back that ball, but he's muscled off it.
That's a very good counter for Ben Moon. Just slowing down the speed of that ruck, especially after a line break. Saw a little bit of this last week, you know. Exeter got their 3 tries and didn't score a single point. You've got to say the energy has probably been with Sale actually the last 5 minutes. He scored that try, getting some good territory, getting through their phases, up to 9 now. Ooh.
Ooh, that was Kirsten. Just a hint of the high, but Pierre Brousset happy for us to continue. Oh, and as a result of that, it's turnover ball. Oh, now be.
Fallait que je le revoie aux 8 secondes.
Pour moi, c'était.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Nick. It was Kirsten here, just over the shoulders. An obvious high tackle, nothing more.
Numéro 19.
Sale have deserved that, I've got to say.
C'est le numéro 19.
10 phases, good shapes, good collisions. Looking threatening and menacing with ball in hand.
It's the South African who's played his part in every game since arriving this season, Janus Kirsten. Sale have got a player down at the moment. It is young Tom Curtis on his Champions Cup debut. Champions Cup debut for Curtis today, the 18-year-old, before he's even played in the Premiership. And there's Ben Moon, 250th game for him today. One of the great men of Devon. One now of only 3 surviving originals from that championship winning team. Gareth Steenson and Phil Dolman, the others. So what of Van der Merwe? Ross just palms it down to Cliff. And there's an urgency and eagerness about Sale that suggests they're not satisfied with where they are at the moment. Again, Van der Merwe. Cliff with Postlethwaite standing backwards, but he is merely the extra muscle for Molotov to fire it up, and then Will Griff-John riding side saddle with John O'Ross. McGinty. Here goes James, Luke James, the junior of the two. Hit from Noel on McGinty.
Seashell Sharks.
Yeah, Marlon was off his feet there. He tried to secure the ball. Exeter could see that they only had one player over it. Really went in heavy for that counter-ruck, and Marlon went down off his feet to secure that ball, sealing off. Obviously a penalty offence. Exeter really putting pressure on that ball, counter-rucks. We saw it a couple of times then in the build-up to that turnover, but really put pressure on it at the breakdown at the right time. Yeah, Jack Nold as well to get back on his feet. Marlon over the ball. Is that Dennis or Hill? Come foot and Marlon blatantly off his feet. Very good choice to counter-ruck.
Line out just about rescued, and it leads to this break from White. The search for what would be a fourth try. Armand, who won the line out, tried to resuscitate it, and it'll be Chiefs' possession.
Snake bobbling balls can often be so hard to defend. Nick White spots the gap. Don Armand does his best to try and keep that ball alive, and Sale knock it on.
This is Elvis Taioni, first Champions Cup appearance for a year last weekend, replacing Luke Cowan-Dickey. Cowan-Dickey with 16 ball carries today, 37 metres. Still some distance behind Sam Simmons, however. 19 for him, 75 metres. Nobody on the Sale side even coming close. The heavy transporters have all been from Devon today.
I think Sam Simmons has got more metres himself in the whole Sale pack, but himself and Cowan-Dickey have had real good games today for Exeter, been really prominent. It's been the case for the last few weekends as well. Been great, those two guys.
Just looking at Sale's biggest ball carry, actually the fly half, AJ McGinty. 9 carries for just 13 metres, however. Chief scrum, bearing down on the final time, 10 minutes in bright sunshine now. Sunshine melting the hail that was on the picture a minute or two ago. Tackle being checked. It is a high tackle, so with the advantage. White linking up with Armand.
From the side, let's go. Come back to number 10. Number 10. High. High tackle number 10.
It's McGinty on Sam Hill.
Get a guy up there, please.
Well, the significance of this bonus point, should it come, reality in terms of who finishes top of this pool, not that important, because Exeter will surely now finish top with a win, but we're starting to look at seedings for the pool stages, and Leinster at the moment leading the way. They've become the earliest quarter-final qualifiers with their big win against Northampton yesterday, so they'll be up there looking for top seeding, but Chiefs as well, and it will be important in terms of who plays who in the quarters.
Exactly that. It's amazing how your goals change right throughout the tournament. They would have just wanted to get to the quarterfinals. They look to be secure in that, and they want to be one of the top seeds in that final 8.
Kirsten with the line out take, driven backwards a few metres, but on they go again. Here's Hill, held on to by Van der Merwe. Oh, almost up to the try line, very nearly there. Ben Moon's waiting. He's not scored a European try for the best part of a decade. Surely not Ben Moon. On his 250th game, and 9 years since his last European try. That is a big moment for a big man of Devon.
Yeah, good way for him to make up for a yellow card last weekend. Come back, scored another great try from a brilliant forward play again. There's 3 tries very similar this afternoon. All come from the forwards. I think if we're looking at both packs compared to each other, the Exeter pack have definitely come out on top. I think that's been the backbone of this performance and the victory today as well.
And the bonus point try that we were talking about. Steenson now with conversion duties, and he has so often down the years. An extra 2, Exeter 28, Sale 10.
Spoke to Steve Diamond about the threat of them from just a few metres out, and their ability to be able to manage the game, as well as a bit of poor discipline from Sale. They've allowed extra entries into the 22, and they've been able to convert it.
Ian Whitten makes way for Ollie Woodburn. Jake Cooper-Woolley is back on because Will Griff-John is having some blood attended to, and Jack Maunder, scrum half, taking the place of Nick White. Oh, that is some kick. That is some kick, and it's going to force McGinty to play it, and he's doing what he can to stay on the table. And he didn't do quite enough. That was persistent work from Don Armand to win possession.
That's exactly how to play with the wind. Get the ball in your half, smash it back down, centimetre gain. Now in a good position to attack again.
It's a gorgeous kick, isn't it, off the restart. Only Slade manages just to bang it down that 5-metre channel. I think AJ McGinty's looking around, wondering who's in the backfield to be able to cover that. Anyway, he makes up for that. Tries to secure the ball, but in doing so, giving up about 60 metres of territory.
Hill, highest, and Simmons once more. He needs one more for a hat-trick. And the drive coming in from Ewers. Simmons again. That close to a third. It's Jack Maunder now organising the big troops in front of him. Not that Jack Knowles big, but he's slippery and he's elusive, and he scores a 5th for the Chiefs. And they're beginning to run away with this.
Their latching work and understanding of getting in behind the ball carriers are brilliant. They've got so many players, I mentioned Sam Simmons in the first half, who are able just to keep their feet after contact. Jack Knowles, one of the very best in the game at it. But using his momentum, using his carrying ability with a few teammates, once again from 5 metres, Exeter execute and score their 5th try of the day.
I don't know if it's just me, but I wonder if anyone else is thinking how much they'd love to see, potentially, seeing how the group stages work out, but Leinster and Exeter playing against each other. You know, 2 teams are probably most effective in opposition 22s. I would absolutely love to see that matchup in the new year.
Conversion was a good one. It's a 7-point score, and it's 35-10 all of a sudden. And Sale, having seemed to respond the quickest after the break for the hail, have rather been swept away in the last 5 minutes.
I think Rob Baxter will be most pleased because it's been an 80-minute performance. I thought they were outstanding for 35 minutes last week. They managed the wind in the first half. The game control's really good in this half. With that wind, with that extra ball in hand, they've been able to really put that pressure territorially as well as on the scoreboard.
I think going all the way back to the first half, Ben Curry going off had quite a big effect on the tactics of Sale. Himself and his brother Tom were really effective while he was on the pitch together. Combine that with a sin bin, which was costly. Perhaps the lack of kicking in the first half. I think they're probably the 3 areas which have hurt Sale this afternoon.
Sale's solitary concern from this point on will, of course, be now the Premiership. They've got Northampton at home next Saturday, then a post-Christmas trip to the Rec, to Bath, and then they are welcoming Quinns to the AJ Bell in the new year. The quality of their squad suggests they should be pushing for top 6, maybe top 4, but they're certainly not going to be pushing much further in Europe once the pool stages are done. Steenson clobs it away downfield. Byron McGuigan hares back, and he can just dab down if he wants to. Chiefs in Premiership terms looking to get a little bit closer to the leaders. Bristol and to Northampton have Leicester at Welford Road next Saturday. Saracens are here between Christmas and New Year. That will be nice and quiet, won't it? Saracens at Sandy Park, and then they've got London Irish at the start of 2020. Here goes Slade. What's on his mind? He is held on to by the South African hooker Van der Merwe. Maunder looking to inject some pace. Hill. It's not stopped from start to finish. Maunder eager for it. Kirsten.
To prevent contest. Off it, prevent contest by 16. Time off, free. Thank you.
Wilgriff John returns for Cooper Woolley.
Time on. No, open. Close the gap, Blue. No, wait.
John O'Ross
Thank you.
wins it. Gus Waugh is on for his European debut. 20-year-old scrum half, sat unused on the bench for the last 3 matches, but this is his big moment. There he is wrestling for the ball. Picks out Morozov, his first full season, having arrived midway through the last one. The other prop is Wilgriff John. Waugh kneeled. It's not just the big money names that Sale are investing in at the moment. The likes of Lud de Jager, once he's fit. It is young blokes like Gus Waugh and Tom Curtis who's on now. They work so hard to deliver their own via the academy. They've got some defensive work to do here, however. Hogg screaming after his own kick. And happy to see the ball dribble out.
Yeah, another mistake from Sale. Doing their best to try and add a bit of tempo into the game, get through their phases, but Exeter really muscled up. Goes back to the point I was trying to make earlier about it being it's never a complete performance, but they'll just be pleased that they stuck to the task, stayed in the fight, both sides of the ball. They've done that very well.
Sale have never won a Champions Cup match on the road. This is their 8th in all now over the last few years. Had some tough assignments. Steve Diamond and Co. Allianz Park twice, Toman Park, Marcel Misselin, Stade Mayol, Sandy Park, not the easiest, but they've not won yet at any of them.
Open gap, Exeter, gap. Open, close, come here, Blue. Hey, come. Outside.
And the Chiefs, with the wind in this second half, and despite the interruption for Hale, have absolutely bossed things. Waugh waits, as does Postlethwaite. Phillips. Final minute.
You are fit now. Knee on the player. Use it.
Whoa, delicate chip looking to employ McGuigan. Not quite delicate enough. Rob Baxter, satisfaction of a job very well done. They are heading 10 points clear of second place. Glasgow with 2 games left for them. Away to Glasgow, second weekend in January, the penultimate round of pool matches, and then a week later they have La Rochelle here. They will hope by then that the job is done. Simmons, who's gone a huge way to making sure they've taken a big step today. And a match whose story was initially written by the Simmons brothers. Then we had hail the size of footballs that suspended it midway through the second half, and then Ben Moon in his 250th appearance scored his first European try in a decade. Exeter got all 5, and while they're not yet in the Champions Cup quarter-finals, they are as good as. They have beaten Sale by 35 points to 10.